welcome to Mondo Thingo.
Tonight, why Jesus is way cool. The man who was getting vampires slayed long before Van Helsing pulled on his leathers. And where would the modern epic be without a cast of thousands of computer programmers?
Hello and welcome to Mondo Thingo, the cooking show that's so avant-garde there's no actual cooking in it. Now, a special hello to viewer Chris, who visited the Mondo Thingo website at abc.net.au/thingo with a bit of information for us. I moved just recently from Germany, where Mondo used to be the brand name of the most popular East German condom. Its market share was probably around 60 to 80%. Did you know that? No, Chris, I didn't know that. It's not like the company is our sponsor or anything. It would explain all those boxes in the stationery cupboard. Anyway, we've got a show to do, so let's lower the drawbridge and charge over the moat into the celebrity battlefield. Nicole Kidman must be as busy as a one-legged woman in a Tom Cruise kicking competition. And here she is in yet another film, The Stepford Wives. This is a remake of the 1975 film where husbands turn their wives into robots. Surprisingly, Nicole isn't playing one of the robots.
Wait, you work out dressed like this? Of course. We always want to look our very best.
The original film was a thriller, but the new film is more of a satirical comedy, with Muppet alumni Frank Oz directing. Cricket as a means of avoiding a nuclear holocaust? Well, that's sort of how it was when India played Pakistan recently for the first time in 14 years. And that tour's success has inspired a new Bollywood movie enigmatically called Silence Please, The Dressing Room. There's got to be a Shane Warne joke here somewhere. Oprah Winfrey was there, Naomi Campbell was there, Brooke Shields was there, all there to see hip-hop superstar Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy, in his Broadway debut. The play was the late 50s classic A Raisin in the Sun.
All the God's children, God. Get out of my face and go do some work. Fly all over, God.
And P. Diddy was excited.
It was incredible. I mean, it was a life-changing experience.
That white suit's very brave. I hope he's not celebrating at an Italian restaurant. As the new artistic director of England's Old Vic Theatre, Kevin Spacey has launched his first season of plays. But the sizable press turnout had more to do with his recent late-night encounter in a London park. He said it was a mobile phone snatching that turned nasty. The always exemplary UK tabloids inferred it was something more.
Now, before I begin, I would like to put to rest a rumour that has been spreading about town these past few days that I think is entirely unfair. And that is that David Beckham offered to donate £100,000 to the Old Vic if I would take him off the front pages for a few days. It's not true.
Come on, if the tabloids were right about Spacey's sexuality, is there any way on earth he'd be wearing that hat? So, George, what do you think happened with Kevin Spacey in the park?
Mandy, you know what? I make a bit of a point of not believing anything that comes out of the gutter press.
Good for you.
I mean, remember when that trash mag ran that bit about you and the 23-year-old personal trainer?
Oh, that's right.
I mean, I laughed for a week. I mean, you and a 23-year-old personal trainer. How ridiculous. But plausible.
Over the last couple of months, Mel Gibson's profile has risen again with the phenomenal success of his religious biopic, The Passion of the Christ. In fact, it's been so successful, we'll no doubt be seeing a glut of similar movies with titles like Dude, Where's My Saviour, Joseph and the Pussycats, and There's Something About the Virgin Mary. In fact, right now, NBC in the US is working on a TV miniseries based on the Book of Revelations, where God and Satan battle it out. I'm not kidding. Where's Charlton Heston when you need him? So why is religious content suddenly so hot? Is it the current state of world affairs, or simply because single guys with long hair and goatees are just too cute not to follow?
Jesus was way cool. Everybody liked Jesus. Everybody wanted to hang out with him.
God bless you.
I give all glory to God.
We need new disciples. We want young blood in the congregation.
with celebrities, they have become kind of demigods in our world. People imitate them. Their choice of unconventional religion is not surprising because, to some extent, they're leaders in the consumption of culture.
Yes, I definitely think there's a Prada spirituality going on. Celebrities are kind of taking on spirituality because it makes them look deeper.
God in his, her many guises is the new must-have celebrity accessory. Madonna and Demi Moore are into Kabbalah. Tom Cruise and John Travolta are Scientologists. Uma Thurman and Richard Gere are Buddhists. And in case you missed it, Mel Gibson's Catholic. Not everyone's buying it, certainly not Ali G in USA.
What's like the innest religion now? Is it a coincidence that all the good people have long hair, like Jesus and like hippies and, you know, Rod Stewart, whatever?
Religion is everywhere. One of the most popular novels this year, The Da Vinci Code, has been condemned by conservative Christians. It sold more than 7 million copies.
The enormous popularity at the moment of The Da Vinci Code, a novel which asserts, among other things, that Jesus was married to Mary Magdalene, is really fascinating. I believe Ron Howard is about to make it into a film, and I've no doubt that it will have enthusiastic audiences the worldwide.
Some celebrities use religious imagery to inspire others, like the Beatles did during their brief but intense affair with Hinduism. Others, like Monty Python with The Life of Brian, use it to question the basis of faith and satirise church dogma. And they scared off film investors in the process.
I think it was Blessed Are the Cheesemakers.
What's so special about the cheesemakers?
Well, obviously it's not meant to be taken literally. It refers to any manufacturers of dairy products.
Mel Gibson couldn't convince investors with his script, so he funded it himself. His graphic but rather one-note film, The Passion of the Christ, has now raked in $460 million, making it the highest-grossing independent movie ever made. And that's a profit Hollywood just has to worship.
Passion of the Christ is an interesting cultural phenomenon. It has going for it immense sincerity on the part of its filmmaker.
I want people to understand the reality of the story. I want them to be taken through an experience. I want them to feel.
Many people may be enormously impressed by what they see, but they're going to discover, perhaps, that church is not quite the experience that the Passion might suggest it could be.
In the cool-to-be-atheist 90s, director Kevin Smith was pilloried for his questioning comedy, Dogma, where sacred beliefs were mercilessly sent up.
Christ didn't come to Earth to give us the willies. He came to help us out. He was a booster. And it's with that take on our Lord in mind that we've come up with a new, more inspiring sigil. I give you the Buddy Christ.
I just wanted to make a flick that celebrated my faith. Going to church wasn't enough, particularly around the time that I was going to church when I wrote Dogma, because there didn't seem to be much of a celebration going on. I mean, they call it the celebration of the Mass, but it's not a party in there most times. Most people are just there not out of faith, but because they're terrified of going to hell.
Sadly, Dogma wasn't the success Smith hoped for, but it didn't bomb as spectacularly as Battlefield Earth, a genuine monster turkey. This film was made to reflect some of the values of Scientology, but instead it reflected a bad book and worse script, and not even Scientologist and star John Travolta could save it. It's not just movies and celebrities who influence the public. Music is a powerful tool to get a message across. Sister Janet Mead was hip to it. As is rapper Jay-Z. Sure, he sings about cash and bitches, but he counts Jesus as a homie and sometimes calls himself God MC. Madonna is the perfect example of a celebrity mixing and matching religion. Christened a Catholic, she's controversially burnt crosses, dabbled in Wicca, and now has converted to Kabbalah. Others just worship her.
I don't think celebrity's the place to find it. I think Jesus Christ is the person who's most fit that bill. And the documents of his life, the Who magazine of his time, certainly reveals a very different picture.
In fact, Madonna's husband, Guy Ritchie, plans to make a movie about Kabbalah. But he better get in quick. Hollywood, publishing and the music industry go where the money is. And while God may be getting the limo and the big dressing room right now, how long before he's going straight to DVD? Television Television shows would be nothing without their fans, and I can't wait to speak at Mondo Expo 2004. But fans aren't just useful for buying you drinks. They can actually save a show from the axe. Star Trek, Farscape, even Heartbreak High was saved like this. And right now, fans are battling to save Joss Whedon's Angel. Fans and TV shows can have intense relationships, and where there's a relationship expert. He's a journalist, a presenter on Foxtel's Music Max, and he's writing a history of the Australian TV soap. Andrew Mercado, welcome to Mondo Thingo.
Hi, Amanda.
Now, tell us about the campaign to save Angel. What's going on?
Yes, they're very head up about it. They're sending flowers to the networks, and they've actually paid for full-page advertisements in industry magazines like Variety. The fans have. Moving billboards, the whole thing, because they want the show to continue. And I actually think they're a little bit deluded, because Angel's actually reached 100 episodes and the axe fell just after the 100th episode, and I think that's very telling.
We walk out of here now, you don't lose your head. Let's go.
Now that they've got 100 episodes, that's that nice number they need to put a show into syndication.
Meaning what?
Meaning that they can sell the show to television stations all around the world.
Have fans saved many shows in the past?
Look, in the 80s we had Cagney and Lacey and Designing Women saved, and I think that was mainly female viewers because, you know, up until then we'd kind of had shows about women that didn't wear bras and Charlie's Angels and that type of thing, and I think when we got some shows about strong women, female viewers were particularly keen to keep those shows on air.
Does this mean that networks listen to viewers?
I think they used to listen to them a bit more then. I think now network executives only listen to the finance manager. I think now it's all about money. I think it's a lot harder to save a show today.
What about the campaign to save Farscape? Was this an Australian program?
It was actually an American program, but it was made here in Australia, and the Australian fans didn't really save it. The American sci-fi fans really got behind that, and because Farscape was a show where they were kind of lost in space, they wanted some closure. They sort of wanted everyone
to come home?
Yeah, they wanted them, just like Gilligan's Island, they wanted them off the island, and so they have just made a 4-hour mini-series, and that will kind of give some closure to the fans and tie up a lot of loose ends.
And what about the Australian program Breakers?
Yes.
When was this?
Look, Breakers was a kind of a more multicultural version of Home and Away set in Bondi, a soap that 10 did a few years back. And when it got cancelled in 1999, 50 fans went on a protest march through the Rundle Mall in Adelaide. Now, no shop windows were broken, but I understand that violence could have been in the air that day.
I hate what's happening to us at the moment.
Come here. I know, so do I.
No, Dad, this should be the best day.
A lot of these have been saved from letter-writing campaigns. The internet has made it much easier to communicate with networks and for people to get angry and just type something off. Does this mean we might see more of this kind of thing happening?
No, not really. I actually think that network executives actually look at a written letter with a lot more, wow, this person really cares because they've gone to the trouble of writing it out. I think there's a statistic that if they get a written letter, it accounts for 1,000 viewers. So, yeah, I'd be writing letters if I wanted to save a TV show and not sending an email.
So you think for my campaign to bring back Bellbird, it's letter writing?
I think that's absolutely the way to go, and I think we do need to bring back Bellbird because the show ran for 10 years, but the ABC actually erased 9 years of episodes. So it'd be lovely to bring it back and...
Let's have a protest through Rundle Mall.
I'd love to.
Well, what about the Angel campaign? You think 100 episodes, it's not going to... no more is going to be made.
No.
Are they barking up the wrong tree? Nothing's going to happen.
Yes, I think they are. And I think the other thing that's going on too now is DVD sales. I mean, if you have a show that doesn't rate all that well and you don't really think it's going to survive another series, you can still put that first series out on DVD and make a lot of fast money there. So I think DVD sales are really changing the television landscape in terms of how to make some fast money.
So you're saying as viewers we are powerless?
Pretty much so, yes. Although, you know, if I could have found 1,000 other passionate fans when Arcade was cancelled, that show could still be on air.
That's a big if, Andrew.
Yeah, kind of.
All right, well, look, here's power to Angel. We may not ever see it again, but there you go.
He's had a good innings, let's face it.
5 years. All right, thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Everyone knows the writer is the most important part of any TV show, and I can make Amanda Keller say whatever I like just by typing it into my computer. I'm a Cossack, fill the sink. But as writers go, you don't get much more important than Joss Whedon. His show Angel might be in trouble right now, but I reckon there'll be many more ideas from the creator of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Just how he knew that a hot chick in tight pants would rate like a rocket, is anyone's guess. But in recent years, a surprising number of the TV series and movies that the world has loved have come from the mind of this depressingly gifted overachiever.
Joss Whedon comes from good writing stock. His grandfather wrote Leave It to Beaver, and his father wrote Golden Girls. Joss created Buffy as an alternative feminist icon. The movie stank. Dodgy casting supported by supremely wooden performances, poor direction and even worse editing.
I'm Pike.
Pike isn't a name, it's a fish.
But the spin-off TV series quickly became a pop culture phenomenon. For 7 seasons, Joss served it up thick and fast. Powerful female roles, homosexuality and interracial relationships all wrapped up in the fight between good and evil. When TV critics suggested that Buffy's success lay in its snappy pop culture scripts,
This isn't a Tupperware party, it's a little hard to plan. Count of 3 isn't a plan, it's Sesame Street.
Joss thumbed his nose at them by writing and directing an entire episode with no dialogue. Rather than the backlash expected, he was rewarded for his creativity with an Emmy nomination. The spin-off series Angel proved just as popular as Buffy. The success of the show lies in its theme of redemption and, of course, awesome vampire battles. As ever, Whedon undercuts the serious themes with his unique sense of humour.
Numfar, do the dance of joy.
And this led to a Stephen King-like cameo by Joss. Here, he's playing Numfar.
No longer do the dance of joy, Numfar.
Every single night, the same arrangement. I go out and fight the fight.
Joss directed and wrote a musical episode of Buffy called Once More with Feeling. It was the first time he'd written music, and it was a brave move away from the traditional episodes.
Can tell that she's just going through the motions. And somehow, she's not even half the girl she... Oh.
But the gamble paid off. It was brilliant.
Let me rest in peace.
This led him to work as a lyricist on Disney's predictable Lion King 2.
When I think of what that brute did, I get a little tense.
Joss earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Screenplay with his sassy comedy aimed at kids and adults alike, Toy Story.
Don't even think about it, cowboy.
Oh, yeah? Tough guy?
Showing his diversity, he then steered away from comedy and worked on the screenplays for the runaway hit Speed and Steven Spielberg's action-packed adventure Twister. He missed the mark with his formulaic 4th film in the Alien series, Alien Resurrection.
We really just took out the things that are too expensive to shoot, which I tend to write occasionally.
Then Joss was asked to rewrite X-Men. He tore up the original script and totally rewrote it. However, only 2 of his lines made it into the final movie. Here's one of them. It's very Joss.
Hey, it's me.
Prove it.
You're a dick.
Okay.
Take my love, take my land.
Joss's latest series, Firefly, is a western set in space. Although it was slick and up to his usual standard of quirkiness, the TV execs pulled the series after a few episodes. In a reversal of what happened with Buffy, Joss now has plans to turn it into a film. It'll be called Serenity and is due to start filming in June this year. We can't wait.
Now you get the behind-the-scenes ugliness.
Remember that big-budget sci-fi adventure movie Tron from 1982, where Jeff Bridges was trapped inside a computer program doing battle with evil protocols? No, neither do I. But Tron lives on through Jay Maynard of Minnesota, who's made his very own Tron costume. And even better, he's put all the instructions with pictures on the web, so we can all enjoy his efforts in a totally non-derogatory way. Now, there are 4 stages to making a Tron costume. First, be a geek. Second, and this is the scary bit, get yourself a unitard. Now, before we show you Jay in his unitard, please take all children and frail seniors out of the room. Okay, ready? Here he is. And again, and again. And in case you're wondering, as Jay himself says, one drawback of wearing spandex is it does nothing to hide one's obesity. Amen to that and pass the beans and franks. Well, Jay then got to work painting on the circuitry and getting the armour together. And in no time at all, Jay was ready to unveil his masterpiece at a sci-fi convention. Ha! Makes all those Star Trek nerds look like a bunch of sad time wasters, doesn't it? Now, Jay actually won a prize for best workmanship, disappointing several dozen people who'd put a lot of effort into their hobbit ears. Ladies, we've done a bit of a background check, and Jay works in IT, and I think he's single. OK, now to Mondo movies. There have been many sins committed in the name of digital effects. Jar Jar Binks from Phantom Menace springs embarrassingly to mind. But on the plus side, digital effects have brought back grand historical epics. And the latest movie to make a CGI spectacle of itself is Brad Pitt's sword and sandal blockbuster Troy. Now, Brad plays Achilles, and as everyone knows, Achilles' one weakness was an over-reliance on styling mousse. But is there such a thing as an over-reliance on spectacle? Well, as we're about to see, Hollywood doesn't think so.
Who are you, soldier? Achilles.
Troy, released nationally today, is part of Hollywood's rekindled romance with the grand historical epic. And it's back for a reason: profit. We punters love a spectacle, and computer-generated imagery, or CGI, has made it a lot cheaper to lay on.
I won't ask you to fight my war. You already have.
The fact that only 2 of those 1,000 ships out there are real is a pretty significant cost saving. And if you can fight a battle like this with thousands of virtual extras, you'll keep the bean counters happy.
You want me to look upon your army and tremble?
OK, so Troy still cost $200 million to make, but without CGI, it wouldn't have happened at all. And yet, historical epics used to be made when the only really convincing special effect was huge mountains of cash. D.W. Griffiths made one of the first cinema spectacles with his seminal and silent 1915 film, The Birth of a Nation, and then spent an unheard of $2 million on his truly colossal 1916 follow-up, Intolerance. But even more spectacular was the total failure of Intolerance at the box office, and with that, Hollywood declared the big-budget movie was dead. But really, it was only resting.
Let thy spirit enter into our bodies.
Yes, Solomon and Sheba had Gina Lollobrigida, but producer Samuel Bronston wanted an even bigger spectacle, so he drafted in the Spanish army for the impressive battle scenes. But what he spent on extras, he obviously didn't spend on sets, or even on fight training. And a big film should really have a big crisis, and star Tyrone Power provided one by dying of a heart attack during production. He can still be seen in a couple of the long shots, but Yul Brynner was brought in for the close-ups.
Cleopatra makes its West Coast premiere, an event for the annals of motion pictures.
We say bigger than Ben-Hur, but Cleopatra is at least as big. In fact, adjusted for inflation, it was for many years the most expensive movie ever.
Cleopatra has been known to employ torture, poison, and even her own sexual talents, which are said to be considerable.
But it wasn't all spent on Elizabeth Taylor's record fee and the truly lavish production values. Bills piled up through weather problems, sets being rebuilt and stolen, a production move from England to Rome, and an illness that forced Taylor to bow out for 6 expensive months.
I promise you won't like me this way.
But despite the accepted huge flop tag, Cleopatra did eventually make its money back.
I want that understood.
But the very model of the modern major epic is Gladiator. This is when technology caught up with ambition, so director Ridley Scott and several teams of computer nerds could recreate ancient Rome for a relative pittance.
My name is Gladiator.
In this scene, only the bottom 2 decks of the Colosseum are filled with extras. The other thousands are computer generated, so they don't need costumes, lunch, or Russell Crowe's autograph.
We've got a better chance of survival if we work together.
But the traditional big movie disaster came for Gladiator when star Oliver Reed suffered a fatal heart attack during filming. CGI came to the rescue using a double photographed in the shadows, wearing a 3D CGI mask of Reed's face.
Proxima.
While